Let's spend some time talking about fixing problems with the DNS service in your network. As you know, before two IP hosts can communicate using host names, we have to take those host names and resolve them into IP addresses that the IP protocol itself can understand. Now, the job of a DNS server is to resolve these host names, such as www.google.com, into an IP address. And it also can work in reverse. It can take an IP address that we give it and resolve it into its associated host name. Now, a common symptom of name resolution problems is one where users on your network open up a web browser and they try to access a web page out on the internet, and when they do, they just get an error message. Something is displayed saying essentially, I can't reach the server. It's because the IP protocol has no idea where it's supposed to go. It can't locate the server. Now, a quick and easy way to test DNS name resolution is to try pinging a host by its IP address. If you can ping by the host IP address, then you know that basic connectivity exists between those two systems. Once that's done, then try pinging that same host, but this time using its DNS name. This time, if the ping fails, then we know that there's a pretty good chance that we have a DNS name resolution problem. We know that network connectivity exists between the sender and the receiver. It's just that the sending host can't figure out how to resolve the host name into an IP address that it can work with. There are many possible causes for DNS problems. For example, the DNS server could be down or just otherwise unreachable for some reason. You can try using ping to test communications with the DNS server itself to see if it responds. However, if you do this and you don't get a response, be aware that the firewall protecting the DNS server may actually be configured to drop ICMP packets in order to prevent denial of service attacks. So if this happens and you try pinging the DNS server and it doesn't respond, don't immediately assume that the server is down just because it didn't respond. It could be that there's a firewall in the way that's simply filtering out all of your ping packets. It's also possible that there could be a routing problem between the sending host and the DNS server. In this situation, you can use the traceroute command to test the route between the sending host and the DNS server. It's also possible that the sending host could be configured with the wrong IP address for the DNS server. In this case, you can use the nslookup or the dig command to test whether or not the IP address that you have configured on your workstation is actually the correct DNS server. Now, be aware that it's possible that your workstation is configured correctly and that the DNS server is configured and working correctly as well, but for some reason that DNS server is unable to contact a root level DNS server. This could be due to several different things. It could be due to a routing problem. It could be a connectivity issue. Maybe there's a WAN link issue. To test this, you need to do two different things. First of all, try using nslookup or dig to resolve a DNS name that you know that your DNS server is authoritative for. Because the DNS server is authoritative, it should actually have a local record for the host name. And if name resolution fails, at that point we know that the DNS server itself is having some problems that we're going to have to troubleshoot. If it's successful, however, and it is able to resolve a host name that it's authoritative for, the next step is to try using nslookup or dig again, but this time send it a DNS name to resolve that it is not authoritative for. In this situation, the DNS server has to contact root level name servers and then use the recursion process to try to find the correct IP address for the host name. If your DNS server can resolve local host names but cannot resolve host names that is not authoritative for, then you know that there's a connectivity problem most likely between the DNS server and the root level name servers. That's it for this lesson. In this lesson, we talked about troubleshooting name resolution problems. We looked at several common DNS issues, such as an unreachable name server, routing problems between you and the name server, misconfigured DNS server addresses on hosts, and finally, we looked at root level DNS server communication problems.